what's going on, y'all? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And you're about to watch a little OTB LSU.
We're going to give you all the latest, greatest between LSU football, baseball, women's basketball, softball, and everything in between.
Bottom line, if you want to talk Tigers, keep it locked, subscribe, like it. Let's go ahead and just dive into this LSU game first. And I know it's weird to start here, but it's a bad start for the defense. It was a perfect finish. The offense was fantastic throughout the game. You missed a lot of opportunities in the first half to put this team away early, but again, utter domination pretty much all around in the second half. And I know it's weird to start talking about the Heat, but I think we need to for a couple of reasons. First off, I did see a lot of kind of consternation online surrounding with the visuals of Tiger Stadium, how it looked on television, how empty the sunny side of the stadium was. And again, guys, I can't blame anybody for that. We, the collective Louisiana we know heat, right? So what happens when it's even too hot for us? You know at that point you have reached freaky heat levels. In fact, just leaving the stadium at half to get over to Don Juan for whiskey and wine, I think I saw 3 or 4 people on gurneys. Matt said from sources he talked to at LSU, over 70 heat-related medical events at the game. ESPN, you need to be paying the medical bills of everyone here in Louisiana that had to sit through that September day game. Like, I know I've talked trash on like night games before when you play a lower team and you just play like 600. I will never, ever, ever again after that, because that was absolutely miserable. And you saw it in the entire day in the run-up to the game. We're making jokes about just wait. UCLA is going to wait until this second half Wait until this second half when LSU's suddenly in the shade and the Bruins are still baking on that sun. And indeed, that did play a role. That is a team that melted. That said, I think the important thing to highlight here, from our perspective as a sports talk show and something that should be celebrated, is yes, Louisiana, we do know heat. And yet still many of us have that. You know, the one group of people in that stadium who were not affected by the heat were the LSU football team. And that shouldn't be overlooked because those are adverse conditions, and they did not lose a step. They did not falter. They did not look overtaxed. They only got stronger as the game went longer. And again, I think that's important to highlight because that speaks to a team that is well-conditioned, that did what they did, the hard things during camp to build up that heat resistance, that heat immunity, and they end up taking that game completely over. And again, that was the only group in the entire stadium that was able to tough out Ray Baker on Saturday. All right, we'll get some overall thoughts in this game. I think this is a bit odd because the stats don't reflect this. Like, Taylor, maybe you can give me the final rushing statistics out of the box score. I don't think they don't seem very good. I think it's actually under 4 yards a carry average.
3.6. It's actually lower than it was against South Carolina.
Which is a bit odd because I thought you actually did a bit better running the ball this game. I thought that you had better short yardage push. The backs did a better job of being patient. I mean, there are absolutely still problems on a lot of these gap scheme runs. I don't think the offensive line gets enough movement in their back blocks. They're getting stonewalled, even though 93 from UCLA seemed pretty damn good, in my opinion. But like when you think about it, you used run. I mean, Josh Williams ran it well. Caleb Jackson, the second 90-yard touchdown drive of the second half. I thought that Caleb Jackson did a really fantastic job of getting some hard yards and making UCLA feel him. So I think this actually is a step in the right direction for this rushing attack. The defense. Now, the defense is a bit disappointing because in that first half, I've been giving the defense a lot of credit for not having coverage busts, and they've still done a really good job of not having the over-the-top coverage bust where somebody's running free for just like a 70 or 80-yard touchdown. Underneath, there's been a couple, and there were a couple that shined early on, right? That first 3rd and 4 on UCLA's first possession Wes Weeks comes unblocked to the A-gap, and he actually murders the quarterback, right? But nobody has accounted for the running back. It looks like maybe, and this thing they tried a couple times, it looks like maybe Braden Swinson had a man-to-man, but he was on the backside, and there was no chance of him ever getting there. Then you had the 4th and 2, where kind of the same thing. You bring a blitz up the middle, and you have Savion Jones on the back one-on-one, and, well, he was close, but it's not a bad concept. Again, I kind of like it, but it did get you got in both those short yardage situations. And overall, philosophically, I didn't hate what the defense was doing, right? They were saying, okay, look, we're going to play single high safety. We're going to man you up. We are going to add we're going to add people to the rush, and we're going to try to speed up the quarterback, make him make plays, make him make decisions. And it worked a lot of the time. The issue is you are putting a young, flawed secondary to the test there. And while you passed some of them late, early on, you didn't pass too many, right? Like you're asking your guys to go man to man, which again I don't mind and I like, especially against an offense like this. And yet you're kind of losing some of those battles, which is to be expected. These are young cats. They're still learning. They're a bit that's the entire defense, right? Just a bit personnel limited. So I don't hate the scheme, even though first half it did not work great. You had a coverage bust on the touchdown. I believe it was Major Burns that was responsible, as it looks like both Greg Penn and Major Burns thought that they had the running back man-to-man. Nobody accounted for the tight end. To me, it feels like the tight end was probably Burns' guy, so that's another busted coverage. So 3 busted coverages on the first drive. That's how they go down 11 plays, 75 yards, and immediately tie up the game after you did a really good job of setting the tone with a touchdown drive of your own. And then you get to the end of the first half, where, I mean, we talk about just getting beat 1-on-1. There's a long play at the half line. Ashton Stamps has perfect coverage right there. Ball bobbles around in the air. The receiver just makes an incredible play. It looked like you had forced the fumble. You just happened to be a 1/10 of a second off. His knee barely on the ground before that ball popped out. Probably the most disappointing drive about allowing that touchdown before the half is simply that they burned you on a call for the touchdown, but you forced a hold through a great pass rush, and then you didn't come up with the stop when you had him back to 3rd and 12. You allowed them to score again, and that was not great. So you go in tied 17-17 at halftime. The stadium completely empties out. It's a dead day at that time. There's just a general grumbling throughout the entire stadium, and that's why I credit this team. Because at that point, when everybody else was checked out or didn't care or was frustrated, this team came out. And what did they do? Like I said, first half, they had missed opportunities to close this UCLA team out in terms of like the rhythm of the game, right? You had, I think you had 2 possessions, including the one coming off the fumble, where you could have gone up 21-10, and UCLA would have immediately just been absolutely buried, and you failed to. Well, second half, you come out with a stop. You go 96 yards, touchdown drive. You get a stop. You go 92-yard touchdown drive, maybe 94. Either way, back-to-back 90-plus yard touchdown drives with back-to-back stops from the defense. That's complimentary football. That's how you close out a game. That's how you prove, look, we are clearly better than this team. So, again, kind of the overall, and we'll get into more specifics, who we liked, who we didn't, what we think about the team, but like the overall takeaways, in my opinion, are positive. But everything's still going to be a function of your expectations. I still don't think this is one of the best teams in the SEC. Again, my whole goal is to be better than the rest. And I think this is a day where you took a step forward towards meeting that kind of better than the rest goal. I still don't think that this is a team that beats Ole Miss in Tiger Stadium at night. Even though it's going to be crazy, it's going to be awesome. Like, it's not to say they can't. It's not to say that there's not a chance, but there's still very clear weaknesses in which you would expect that Ole Miss team, admittedly who hasn't played anybody, to really take advantage of. But what they're also not is they're not that bad. Like, don't let whatever sort of maybe missed expectations you're suffering from what you thought before the season to now misconstrue or discolor this team because they're not that bad. And I would point to Garrett Nussmeier's stats as maybe the best way to kind of reinforce this point. Let me bring them up real quick here. So Garrett Nussmeier goes 32 of 44, 72% completion percentage for 352 yards and 3 touchdowns. And really, you think about the big Kyron Lacy drop in the first half, like who knows how many yards, because that was on third down. That's about a 20-yard gain right there. And for Kyron, who cares? I'm not overly worried about it. That was something that was a problem last year. It's not been a problem this year. I'm betting on him. It's not an issue going forward. Just looked a little too early. He was going over the middle. But how did we arrive at a place as LSU fans that we could have our quarterback go 32 of 44 for 352, 3 touchdowns, and a 17-point win and feel meh? Like, you have to take a step back and you have to ask yourself, partially it's because we've had 2 Heismans in 5 years. We've seen 2 of the most statistically dominant seasons in college football history in the last half decade alone. We saw a player in Jaden Daniels who was able to affect, like even in Burrow, Daniels was different because his legs were an element that we've just never seen before. You think back to Florida last year, right? And Garrett doesn't have those legs, right? And so obviously that's going to feel like a big disconnect or a step back. But Garrett Nussmeier is playing such damn good football right now, guys. You have a quarterback that is absolutely dominating. And again, remember, you have to ask yourself, why did I feel so blasé about 350 through the air and 3 touchdowns and solid decisions being made? And you're finally connected on a deep ball to Kyle Parker. Now, granted, there are a couple more left in the field. And Brian Kelly said after the game that Chris Hilton was a game-time decision, but they expect him to be 100% next week. So he probably helps in that regard. But the whole point of pointing out Nuss's stat line compared to how you probably feel about this is that there is a disconnect there. And I get it. This team is maybe not the championship good that you were hoping for. The defense, while I still maintain this defense is way better coached, in my opinion, it's just a hard thing to sell through numbers because the numbers are not good. And it kind of, you're definitely not seeing the defensive improvement you were hoping for with all the investment you made over the offseason. And I think you're going to get there long term. I just don't know what this year holds. Wow, Jake, what incredible takes.
I mean, those guys, they're just the best.
I think so. And if you think so, again, hit the like button, subscribe, ring the bell so you get notifications when we post every single day here on OTB LSU.